Hello and welcome back to the English broadcast of the League of Legends Pro League here in China. And you can see we are looking at Hangzhou because we're in Hangzhou. No, we're not. We're actually in Shanghai. But we are watching a game in Hangzhou. That's between LGD and EDG. Now we're in our third and final game. That's absolutely right, folks. LGD took a game against EDG, and there's a pretty good chance they could take the third one, Frosk.
Now, are you ready?
I'm ready. What is it?
What's your prediction? Who is going to take the third and final game?
It's probably EDG.
You cannot predict that LGD.
Here on Team Raz, we can flip-flop whenever we want, Frosk.
Okay.
It's written in the 10 Commandments of Raz.
Just let it be clear that I gave him the opportunity.
Yep.
He could have doubled down on his faith for LGD, but instead he's like, I'm gonna get used to wearing the wig early. So, you know.
Yeah, that's fine. I've already, been looking at wigs during the break, and I've picked a couple that would work with my complexion.
We're going like full Super Saiyan.
Yeah, maybe.
We're like a Goku right now, or excuse me, a Gohan right now, and then you're just gonna go full Goku.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, ready for that one, 100%. But I believe you get choice,
reference.
so you're the one.
That's fine. Game 3.
Game 3, how about that one? How about them apples? Yeah, honestly, like EDG in that second game, you're right. I think the way that the game started off, it gave them a lot of confidence because of the way it finished. Because if they had a choice, I actually think maybe if you're LGD, you take the Rogue Warriors approach, which is like live fast, die young. And it's like, well, if we're behind, let's just keep running at them and lose at 15 minutes. Because then we don't have to go through half an hour of losing a game where the start of the game really was the decisive part of all of it.
Yeah, and they also understood when their champions were going to be strong, basically on 2 items for Misfortune. They decided to try to utilize the bullet time, see if they could catch EDG out of position, which they did. And if Edward Gaming didn't have the gold lead that they did have, they probably would have lost, or that would have been the swinging point of the game. So EDG, despite getting a very hefty lead, still making a lot of mistakes when it came to mid-game. And again, that is in that shot calling about when we approach this tower, what is the game plan? And not only what are we going to do about it, but what is the enemy team? What are their options to do? And time again, you see that this is where Edward Gaming start to fumble. Yep. I mean, this was their big problem on the world stage when SKT found them. SKT are running a Wombo combo Orianna composition. What is their only game plan? You have to expect that they're going to be hiding somewhere and looking for that massive shockwave. And if you didn't expect it, and if you weren't thinking about it, that's how you leave yourself exposed.
Yeah, 100%. And you're right, actually. LGD found multiple opportunities in that game. I think back to the Alistar in the mid-game. We were jumping back from replay, and it was Morgana who was dead. Bot lane, even when they were significantly behind, it was Misfortune Ultimate onto 2, blast the bot lane. And it was like 3 versus 5 that they still somehow managed to win. So that needs to stop happening. 100%. Stop. Getting flanked and people getting caught out needs to be one of the big changes for themselves. But I do feel like individual players here are stepping up for EDG when it counts. Ray obviously was a big one. I think Clearlove, yes, he was kind of going late today. He was going through the motions on Xin Zhao, and it worked out because of how the early game went. But again, Maker's been doing really well for himself. Ray was a big part on the top side of this Cho'Gath. So it's like that might be enough to actually just drag EDG off the line.
And that's usually how they win. Their macro, their play setup, it's always been very strong, but it's built off of the back about how they take advantages in lane phase because individual performers from the team have always been, top tier talent. It hasn't been until recently, which I think that's no surprise why EDG have started to slip down the ladder where they're no longer the big dog when you have teams like Rogue Warriors, Invictus Gaming, and RNG now kind of taking that mantle. It's because EDG now definitively don't just have the best player in every single position, whereas for the longest time in the LPL, they really did, or they had capital on majority of those positions.
Frosk, I've got a curiosity question for you. Who are going to be the 3 world seeds? You need to calm down, sir. Who are going to be the 3 world seeds coming out of LTL this year?
I actually had this conversation with Raz in the break room because I know exactly who the 3 world seeds are going to be, and Raz is like,
hit me.
He goes, I think, because the thing is we have 4 teams, so someone's dreams are going to be crushed. We assume that RNG are probably going to make the finals, which means that because they won the finals last time, even if they don't win, they auto-qualify into the world seed. So you assume it's going to be RNG, which means someone between Invictus Gaming, Edward Gaming, and Rogue Warriors are going to have their dreams crushed. And Raz's immediate response is, it's going to be EDG because they're slumping right now. And I said, hold on, Raz. Edward Gaming were in the previous spring final, which means they're on the easier side of the bracket, or if they get the easier side of the bracket, all they need to do is come second, and they auto-qualify back into Worlds. So who's more likely to go? It's RNG and Edward Gaming, which means it's going to be Rogue Warriors or Invictus Gaming that get shut out. And if it's Rogue Warriors versus IG, Rogue Warriors are going.
Yeah, one guess.
And people say, but wait, didn't Invictus Gaming just smack Rogue Warriors? Yes, but they didn't do it in a best-of-5 when it mattered in the playoffs, like they did last time around when those teams met and got smacked.
Yup. Yeah, that was crushing. I remember that one. We were on that game, actually. That was horrifying to watch.
So that's my Week 7 prediction. I think World's 3 teams are going to be Rogue Warriors, Edward Gaming, and RNG.
I'll be honest, it feels like Rogue Warriors definitely are a very clutch team right now, but, you know, someone part of the conversation, EDG, you're saying that they will be able to make it.
Because it's easier for Edward Gaming.
Yeah. They have an easier path, an easier shot at going towards. And it's also just written in script at this point for LPL, you know, it's sent EDG, sent RNG. And then who else? Who's going to be last one? Is it going to be OMG? Is it going to be WE?
The LPL has this very interesting history where, because our top teams have been so consistent, you usually see the top teams repeatedly, but also we have so many top teams. I mean, it feels like every single year for the LPL that our top 3 teams don't actually end up going. Think about 2016. For the longest time, Team WE was the 3rd strongest team in China, but it was IMA that got to go. Yep. The fact that Starhorn Royal Club took down Edward Gaming in 2014, and they were the ones who went to the World Finals when they were the weakest Chinese team that got to go. So it's always been this thing about the LPL. We've got so many teams, such a big league.
Do you think the problem is that we have too many clutch teams in the LPL, and that's the LPL's weakness? Because maybe it should have been Team WE, but then IMA are like, it's time to clutch, and then they just make the run to defeat IMA. So it's like, okay, we're the world scene right now, you know? Then you look at Rogue Warriors, it's like, maybe they aren't the best team, but then they just make a clutch run again, and you're like, oh, there you go.
I think it's something indicative of the LPL style. Of course, every single region has its unique style. I hate the phrasing Chinese aggression.
Yeah.
If you spend enough time over in China and you play on the Ionia server, you start to figure out really quickly how the LPL became how it did. It's just kind of the culture of the server. Yeah. When I was over here with Roar back in 2015, I believe, trying to train up a team for the North American Challenger Series, Chaox used to call the Chinese server the 500-unit bot lane. Because he felt that if you saw the jungler anywhere and the enemy bot lane was within 500 units of you, they were going to flash ignite all in you no matter what the matchup was. And the amount of times that he died to this, because playing in North America, he just didn't expect it to happen. No one plays like that.
Like, why are you fighting me right now? It doesn't make sense.
And it's created this culture. Now, 8 years down the line, here we are.
Yeah. See, I fit very well into Chinese solo queue because everyone's just like, I'm going to choose you with Champion top lane. I'm like, hello, I'm Malawi. And they're like, what? I don't even know what the champion does. So, fight fire with fire and fight cheese with cheese. That's what I'm saying, folks. Even if you're on the North American server, the European West or East server, just know that cheese always wins.
But I think that's what makes the LPL clutch, is the bloodlust. I talked about it at MSI when we saw that great performance from Doublelift as he tried to hard carry Team Liquid into the quarterfinals.
Yep.
You watch a player like Doublelift and you know that he has the fire, that he has heart, that when he starts to lose, that he's not shutting down at comms. You know, a lot of people will throw shade, you know, why did you flash there? Why did you do that? I'd rather have the player that makes the flash, that throws a game like that, because at least he's trying to do something instead of just passively standing around and watching his team lose and shutting down call after call. Do something. Live fast, die hard.
Yeah.
That is why China continues to place in the top % of international tournaments. And people say, but what about 2015? That's the outlier, guys. Like, if I have another person be like, but yeah, I think I've seen this before, when MSI lose Worlds. Yeah, one time.
That is every salty NA thread I've ever read in my life.
Remind me how many times.
Yeah, but what about 2015? And it's just like, hello? Why is this your argument?
Remind me of 2016. They're like, but CLG made finals of MSI. Yeah, what was the semifinal? It was RNG versus SKT after RNG had almost a perfect group stage run, dropping a single game.
Yeah, but they don't remember that for us because they stopped watching after NA got eliminated.
Gotta warp that context. It's cool. I got a good memory.
I love it. And then tell folks we've got a bit of a delay on stage, so we're just walking through this one. Hopefully you should be into Champions Select shortly. Now I have another question for you though, just following off the back of that. It's like, do you think that having the concept of being a clutch player or a clutch team goes hand in hand with also being an aggressive team or an aggressive player? Because typically you could have the two where someone makes an aggressive play and that allows them to be clutch. And then in the LPL, I make the example of Rogue Warriors, who are A, an aggressive team, and B, a clutch team.
No, because SKT disproved that. Because I think SKT definitively have always been a very defensive team. Now, people will look at Faker and say that he has a very offensive, aggressive style, which I do agree. But SKT and LCK for the longest time, it wasn't true for every team because he had teams like KT, Arrows, and Bullets.
Yes.
But the idea was that they would wait for you to make a mistake and then they would immediately punish it. So you don't have to be, you know, a wild, aggressive, brawling team to be clutch. You can be the very coordinated, planning, mysterious team like SKT where they just have that intangible air about them and just smash teams. But SKT not doing so hot right now.
And from the top of the world to EDG versus LGD. Let's get into our third and final game here in Hangzhou. EDG are going to ban away the Tam Kench for the third time in a row with the Nocturne and the Camille this time, so none of that from Jinwoo. Ray's Cho'Gath is banned. I actually do like this from LGD. That was a major problem for them in the last game, specifically Internet Misfortune pick, Aatrox of course, and then Evelyn. It feels like LGD just have done a bit of scouting towards Clear, but it feels like maybe he's got that one in his back pocket again.
I was going to be shocked if it was a priority pick of Yasuo, but the Varus makes much more sense. I feel like EDG are just trying to hold and hide all of their hands. They want to try to get counter picks, especially without access to picks like the Cho'Gath, and this was the safest option.
Hide all of their how many hands do they have for us?
All
typically
two.
People typically have 2 hands. Maybe they're hiding a third one. LGD looking towards their first pick. It will be a Varus first pick actually for iBoy. I do like it. His Varus is very strong, and LGD going to first pick the Misfortune. They want this to really work. The fact that they banned the Cho'Gath because that was a problem last game, and then pick the first pick of the Misfortune.
And we talked about this in the previous Champion Select about theoretically how the Misfortune would be able to deal with the Varus in lane. You know, can try to match some of the poke or the push with the E, can try to match the poke range with the Q, and especially in tandem with a Morgana, LGD do have a really strong pushing bot lane.
They do indeed. I mean, that was one of the problems last time, because it was like they'd committed to the Alistar, then pick up the Misfortunes. It's like, alright, Misfortune, max that E and push them in. Ah, damn. Guess we can't do that, can we? EDG are going to lock in the Zoe, though, for the mid lane. Do love to see some Scout Zoe towards their final pick. It's going to be a Raka. Hello.
Matching fire with fire, they see Morgana Misfortune, they say, okay, you want to push? Let's push. Varus, Soraka. I can't think of anything that would push possibly harder.
Yeah. Might just meet in the middle, or whoever gets the advantage will just push it all the way in.
It's again another siege composition already that EDG are putting together. The fact that you have an extreme long-range poke between the Varus and the Zoe, and then you work it with a Soraka who's just going to sit behind them and heal up.
Yep.
It means that LGD need to start stacking hard engage options, and because they prioritize the Morgana to deny it from Mako, so they wouldn't have the Morgana Varus combo bottom, you suddenly now don't have that Alistar option that PYL has been so clean on this series.
Well, we're going to have the other part of the Yasuo and the Soraka Kingdom Hearts bottom lane. It's going to be on LGD's side this time around for Yuki most likely. And the Xin Zhao ban. It seems like LGD just don't want to do with anything that made EDG confident in that last game. Take away the Cho'Gath, take away the Xin Zhao. What a day it is to be banning Xin Zhao away from Clearlove instead of, like, you know, Sejuani or any of his other classic picks.
I mean, he looked very clean on the champion. We're going to see where he lands. It was a Kindred ban in game number 2 in this ban phase for LGD, so they seem to think that Clearlove can play it. It hasn't been the most successful champion for him, but Kindred alongside Soraka, if you're trying to dissuade LGD from being able to hard engage on you, I think that might be a great combo.
Yeah. Talia, the ban there from LGD. I mean, Kindred's also great into the fact that there's Misfortune, so it's like, lay down the ultimate, lay down the Kindred ultimate, meet it, kill the team. The other annoying thing with the Xin Zhao, sorry for us, was just the fact that he'd pop his ultimate, sit in front of the Misfortune and be like, now what?
I hope that they pick the Kindred up here. No, they didn't.
It's a funny looking Kindred.
It's either the bet
Really
that
let herself go.
that he won't play it, but I feel like he's going to.
I mean, just because we haven't seen it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, you know what I mean? There's a good chance that Clear picks it up on this rotation, but we'll see. EDG think about their top laner. Ray still needs one into the top lane. Been picking up, he pretty much does it all. Ray is a good carry player and tank player.
Something that EDG are lacking though is their hard engage. So maybe they shy away from something like a Kindred who can kite around the Trundle, have dueling potential, and would synergize well with Raka to try to grab something like the Skarner that would give them that hard engage potential in tandem with the Gangplank ultimate. You set down the Cannon Barrage, you let Skarner zip up to them, grab them, and pull them back. And you can see he's flashing between Kindred and Skarner. You know, what do we need?
Skarner probably does make the most sense considering it was a Gangplank on that same rotation. So going to shy away from the Kindred and actually just go with what the composition needed.
I actually would have preferred an Ornn coming out from Ray and putting your hard engage on your top laner. Yeah, I think it was the wrong move to go for the Gangplank, but obviously putting more stock in Ray, and they still have a good combo between GP and Skarner.
Just like, I want to stop playing tanks, please. That'll be fantastic.
But this now leaves them exposed. If I see a GP and I have a Ryze Yasuo and a Trundle, I'm going to start diving. Free for all.
Get in there, man. So, how's this one going to work? So, Ryze top lane, I guess, into the Gangplank. It's going to Yasuo into the Zoe mid lane, and of course the Morgana and the Misfortune into the Soraka and the Varus. So, as you said, got this kind of siege setup here from EDG, but now they've got a bit of soft engage and hard engage in the form of Clearlove's Skarner.
I don't really particularly like the right turn that EDG's composition took on the back half of their ban phase. Again, I would have preferred something like an Ornn and a Kindred to round out the competition, but you can see what they want.
Yes.
On the other side, I feel like you have very clear windows from LGD. They have a Ryze up in the top lane, they have a Trundle in the jungle, and he can bounce between that Yasuo and the Ryze and just really try to punish both Scout and Ray.
Yeah, I reckon Amy has a chance to be a bit of a more carnivorous Trundle in this game. I mean, in game 1 when we saw... sounded like someone just got hit by a bat behind us. What was that? Yeah, so Clear wasn't really doing a whole lot with the Trundle in terms of aggression. He was really just landing those perfect pillars at the right time, setting up his team for those kills versus really looking to duel the enemy jungler. We'll see actually what Amy and how he approaches the game for himself though. And then we also have a Ryze on top side. That's going to be playing into the Gangplank.
But it's do or die for LGD and Edward Gaming. This is, of course, a classic rivalry. It goes back towards 2015 when both these teams were on top of the world. And both of them find themselves in a bit of turmoil. LGD trying to make that last-second sprint towards playoffs, and EDG trying to remind everyone that they're still relevant when it comes to talking about the international scene.
For sure. But ultimately, history remembers the victors, not how they necessarily got there. So, as you said, very easy shot at getting that world seed for EDG, and it's been a long, long time since EDG have not seen themselves on the international stage. So, likely it's going to happen regardless. But I mean, right here, it'd be nice to ramp at week 7, by the way, to do well into the playoffs.
They're starting to slip down their standings. Rogue Warriors have pretty comfortably secured first. It's not set in stone, but it is very difficult to catch them at this point.
It is.
So you would assume that EDG are either looking at 3rd or 2nd seed, and depending on which one you slot into, that means you possibly run into RNG.
Yeah.
Even before the finals. And
that's true, yeah.
That's the one takeaway. EDG almost needs 2nd seed so they can get an easier side of the bracket.
Yeah.
To try to make that
brick
finals.
wall. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's the same thing in spring though, you know, with EDG. With EDG. It's just like, oh, they're starting to slip. I mean, they're introducing new players. Clear's not primarily playing with the team. Harry's coming into the jungle.
He looks jovial right now.
They still made it to the finals, and it's like, yeah, all right. Always feels like Clear knows more than everybody else, you know what I mean? Like, even when you see him backstage, so often we'll see him when his team is winning and just be like cackling. It's like, it's almost like he knew the team was going to win that. I don't know. Maybe it's sent from the future. Either way, guys, we are just remaking the lobby. There was a small bug as we were trying to get into game, so we're just going to give it a hot second and see if we can jump back in. The crowd is just preparing their diaphragms because we're about to be cheering in a second for their favorite team.
I mean, either Edward Gaming are about to come off their loss streak through the LPL and start their climb back towards the playoff run, or LGD are about to set history. For the longest time, LGD did have the best record against EDG. Of course, now that the tides have started to shift as other powers had formed in the LPL, particularly the RNG-EDG rivalry. But if there's ever a time to play up, to find the spirit,
it would be now. And in the home arena, no less. Hey, it's Miko. How's he there on stage? Incredible. Yeah, again, iBoy just in a bit of a meditation right now. He just really wants to get into game and start farming some minions. I bet that's what iBoy gets iBoy up in the morning. It's like, gotta get my, instead of like his 5 a day, it's like his 500 minions a day, you know what I mean?
I think he's more so about 500 kills a day.
Nah, that's true.
He's not a minion farmer, he's a champion farmer.
Yeah, he is not a herbivore by any means. On the opposite side, LGD definitely been stepped. As much as we talk about the slump coming in from EDG, you know, LGD at the same time, the fact that they are even in the conversation to potentially upset teams or make a playoff run is very different from the recent splits of LGD. And we call them the sleeping dragon. We're like, is this the time? They woken up and like, no, he's asleep.
My issue with that narrative, and I know it's one of our favorites on the LPL, is that LGD are one of the oldest teams in the LPL.
They're an old dragon.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of Western fans' memory really cuts off or starts at 2015, and they're like, oh, they used to be this great team. One day they'll return. I'm like, no. There were many seasons before 2015, and LGD were never a great team. They were a pretty middle-of-the-pack team in the LPL, one of the oldest organizations that we have, and then they had one good year where they took a single domestic title, did not go to MSI, and then collapsed at Worlds. And then since then, they've been a mediocre team. So I ask you, are they really a great team with a great history, or did they simply have a flash in the pan on the larger context of the LPL?
It's like one of those memes where you like, it's a dragon, but then you bring out the magnifying glass and it's like a worm.
You know when Mushu is trying to
you walk around a corner in the shadow, yeah.
The great and powerful Mushu.
LGD are actually Mushu. There we go, we've solved it. I mean, they can prove they're big and powerful, and they are an ancestral spirit. If they actually just, you know, win this game against EDG, that would be fantastic. That would mean a great deal to them and their fans.
And the big thing for me to watch is how Amy is going to attack this map. I feel like this really has been decided by the junglers. Yes, some assists from the top lanes, from the bottom lanes. PYL and Mako pulling their weight, but it's been pulling the weight, giving the ball to the junglers, and then letting them dunk on the other team. And
yeah.
Amy got shut out in game number 2. He now has the Trundle pick. He now has a lot of kill pressure set up in all of his lanes. It's kind of now or never for him, because we've seen PYL step back into form. You talked about it at length in game number 1.
I did.
But I've never really seen Amy make good on the promises, and he's been in the LPL for a very long time.
He has. I mean, he's gotten better recently, for sure. I mean, remember, Regank is behind him now. We saw
as well as Intruder
out from him. And Intruder, yeah. I mean, I don't know where Intruder is. Maybe break into someone's house. Hide your belongings, hide your kids. But yeah, I mean, Regank actually showed a lot. He was very aggressive when we saw him the other week. But then we didn't really see him afterwards. I reckon it's because he changed his name away from Gangster, which I think is the best name of all time in League of Legends. He's also Korean. So I find it even more impressive he made a fantastic pun in English. But yeah, I want to see more of Regank. He'll always be Gangster in my heart. But no longer. Amy has definitely stepped it a little bit up so he can stay ahead of the game because there are so many people nipping at his heels on the bench.
Just showcasing that LGD are prioritizing the synergy and communication that they've had in scrims. We've seen them talk about it in interviews. And Amy obviously has longevity with the team.
And Intel, guys, it's just taking a little bit longer. Apparently they went back into Champion Select, went back out, went back in, went back out, went back in. And again, once we know more, we'll send it your way. Of course, we are just as blind as you guys.
At this point, we just play Ultimate Bravery.
Ah, yeah. Well, hey, look, you can see they're in Champion Select. I feel like we should get the cameraman on speed dial in Hongzhou and be like, hey, could you just step a little bit to the right so we can see the player's monitor? Great.
A lot of players will play their monitors on a, or at least League of Legends, the client, on a fixed ratio. Because obviously, if you change monitor sizes, like if you're playing in a PC bong or at your house or at a friend's house, then your clicking or your muscle memory of your clicking doesn't change. If you play on like a, I play 760 by 1380 or whatever it is.
That's a weird ratio, but yeah, that's fair. I mean,
so
whatever
I can
works
see
for
the
you.
entire screen.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm blind.
Yeah. I actually work on a smaller screen as well. I like to go borderless and then shrink the size of the screen.
But there's your next excuse, guys. If you ever play at a friend's house and you start to feed you like this
size
monitor.
Of the monitor, man.
It's different. I can't. The screen's
too small, it's too big. It's too close, too far away. There you go.
Or if you just want to train yourself out of it, it's the same distance to click no matter what if you just set the size of League of Legends.
Exactly. Pro tips, life hacks, no matter where you play. I mean, it's a natural, you know, thing because players play at home and then they play on stage, so it definitely makes sense. Hey, we're seeing the comps again, so that gives me confidence we are going into game. Sneaky Evelyn ban. I wish we got to see clear as Evelyn in this series, but unfortunately not. Been on the bench all series long. I believe we are now getting into game. Alright, Hongzhou Show me what you're made of as we head into our third and final game between EDG and LGD.
Calm down.
It's out of control.
Okay, we can take another look at these compositions, but before then, reminder, Edward Gaming have had a great level 1, or at least a level 1 plan in game number 1 and game number 2. In game number 3, I wanted to see LGD react on that tape and do something. They've now got the Morgana. They denied it away from the Varus Morgana combo that Edward Gaming were trying to set up in draft phase, and then they use it to now create their own level 1 play, secure their jungle, and finally it feels like we're going to get a standard, normal start for both these junglers.
That's a lot of pings. I think that was like 40 pings in the first like 10 seconds of gameplay. Incredible. You can tell we like our pings in the LPL. Whoa, Y4 just walks up and gets half helped.
The classic Soraka Varus, it is all about the push and it is all about the poke. It is a very difficult lane to deal with. Pretty much the only option that they have is hopefully I was going to say a bind he connects, but PYL, unlike Mako, did not take Dark Binding level 1. He took a traditional Tormented Soil in tandem with Misfortune's E so they can try to get a hard push going, which is why it was so important that iBoy and Mako hid into that brush and try to take the trading advantage.
It makes it harder for them to step up and actually hit those caster minions. At the very least is pushed in right here and may actually set up a potential gank here for Amy. Lands the pillar, might force out the flash, we'll see. Ignites down onto iBoy, indeed there it is, but the follow through is big! What, lots of damage coming in for Y4, he'll secure first blood!
Beautifully done by LGD, and I do want to point out to the vision control that they have in the river as well. Very early trinkets let them know that Amy wouldn't be spotted heading down this river and setting up a gank, and I love the fact that they didn't wait for level 2 on Morgana to have the Dark Binding. They decided that the Trundle Pillar was enough, forced the gank, and got the kill.
So we trade back and forth. Oh, that's interesting. Alistar was placed down, but instantly blocked out by the wind wall. Yuki having a good time in the mid lane so far, pushing in this wave. Scott's going to get the Academy though, so I feel pretty good about that one. But first blood to LGD. Huge in the bottom side, especially as to how well that lane was going 2 versus 2. Kalidov looking at top lane, but he's going to sneak into the brush, realizes it's warded, and Jinu was backing away.
It's also a very different expectation that LG would strike first on bottom lane, taking advantage of the fact that iBoy and Mako are a very over-aggressive bottom lane, that they would be pushed forward. You see that it is a Varus Soraka, and kind of adjusting his pathing. Because again, he has Yasuo, he has a Rise, he can try to camp these lanes and really get them snowballing and punish a pick like this GP rather than letting him scale up. But starts to get PYL and Y4 in a really good position. Hopefully this Misfortune then can make a bigger impact in mid-game because she's not falling behind in lane phase.
Hopefully, I mean, that is the dream right there. He's actually gone for a different form on the Gun Goddess Misfortune. I believe this is the first one that we've actually seen to be different. SMLZ prefers a very particular one. Dashing behind the minion wave right there. Yuki just opening some distance after being slept. So he is going to be good.
Do your marketing. Explain to me Gun Goddess Misfortune's forms.
I don't know it. I'm a top laner. I used to play Misfortune. Used to be a main of mine, but not anymore.
Well, you failed now. Remind everyone, eat Doritos, drive Mercedes.
And wash your hair with L'Oreal.
It's your face!
Wash my face? Why don't I wash my face with... Is that what you do? Is that what you do? You wash your face with shampoo? I know that you're all about the hair care products. Is that what you're like, well, I don't know anything about skincare, so I'll just use my hair care products on my face?
No. You don't put anything in your hair.
Yeah, that's actually the secret. People think it's really gross when you tell them that, but it's actually the way. You're gonna dye your hair, that's what you do. Whoa! Yeah, Equinox always catches me off guard with the upfront damage that he does, especially early game. Scott's got himself a ghost. It's not the perfect one. I watched the Zoe, he's got pro'd about 3 times already today. That's disgusting. PYL opening up a lot of space for his AD carry, but he's continuing to get nailed by every piercing arrow. Y4 is really bad at dodgeball.
Also, Soraka doing a lot of damage. You can see that Kalidov has snuck into the back of the lane, making use of the fact that iBoy and Mako are so far forward, but he's really just down here to place vision in that bottom river and protect them from repeat ganks by Amy now that they're missing flashes. Scout is getting bodied here.
He absolutely is. Yuki is handing to him. Y4 is also equally getting bodied in the bottom side. He needs to back away because piercing arrows will be coming through and that will tap him.
But this is what I wanted from Amy, and this was what should have been telegraphed from the very beginning. Punish this gangplank. Meanwhile, Clearlove.
Oh, he's found PYL, and what's Misfortune to do? Yeah, I mean, he can't do anything. He's too low health, and PYL is just simply dead. Clearlove, really just nice find off the backside.
And unfortunately for Amy on the other side, Ray did a good job, backed away from the tower when he felt that he was under pressure, only approached it again when he had access to oranges, got some health back, and he denied any sort of gank from Amy.
Well, it's coming up EDG right now. And they got to push into tower as well. Y4 also not running the teleport, he's actually running heal on this one, so it's recalling on the cannon wave, so should be in range to CS it. Yeah, he did indeed. Feels good for him. So it should be equalizing the farm, but EDG definitely not out of this one. It's not going to snowball in the same way that Game 1 or Game 2 went. Remember, Game 1 and Game 2 went very quickly in terms of it being decided, you know. I feel like Game 2 was done by probably the 3-minute mark. Right here, it's up for grabs.
And we can start to kind of map out how we expect this early game to go. Again, I like the adaptations. Amy trying to give a leg up for Y4 and PYL with early ganks bottom, but for me, it should be trying to punish the Zoe as well as the Gangplank, and unfortunately he was denied from that the first time. But for Edward Gaming, they need to play their early game rather slow. Clearly's responsibility here isn't ganking PYL in the jungle, finding him and killing him. It's just placing vision, tracking and hunting where Amy is, so Zoe can be free to kind of lob these pot shots so that iBoy and Mako can continue to push up in this lane. And it's these small paper cuts. They want to start chipping away at LG's lane phases and chipping away at the towers over time. And then maybe make use of low health targets that didn't take a back timer correctly and then try to force a fight. But otherwise, it should just be kind of security blanket and Clearlove bouncing around in river and acquiring information, being a spy.
What he's done so far. Personally, first person I would turn to would not be a Scorpion if I wanted a Secret Service spy, but there we go. EDG have their own methods.
Whereas what LGD need to do is they really need to be the hunters right now. They can't afford just to be tracking. They need to start finding kill pressure, because over time they will lose these structures to this whittling away and this chipping that EDG's poke and siege composition can do, even in their isolated 1v1 lanes.
Really just eroding them, yeah.
Exactly, the amount of times that Zoe is able to take first tower being mid tower because you just can't stop her wave clear and her poke.
That being said, I will say the bot lane is, you know, aside from dying, doing okay if you're looking at the side of LGD. The wave push coming out from Morgana and Misfortune early is pretty significant. Ray is actually on struggle street though. He's going to clear a lot of his minion wave out, but Jinu's going to get a healthy amount of poke down on towards him.
I actually think Ray, while he is taking a lot of poke from Jinu, and Jinu clearly knows that he's strong in this matchup, is completely fine. Doesn't have access to his TP, but is using his ultimate correctly, is making sure that he's getting his grasp procs, and is constantly just kind of sitting back, letting the wave push into him, making sure that he's avoiding Amy's ganks, and just absorbing the free farm. He's just going to scale through this bad matchup.
I mean, that's the goal. That's why you go Grasp in the first place over Kleptomancy, is to help survive matchups. You're never going to win a matchup, really, as a Gangplank, but what you can do is lose less. And Grasp is one of those tools that you have in top lane. Scout's going to get himself an exhaust. Lovely. Go out the rest of this wave. I think so far I've been seeing a lot of pushing coming out from Yuki, so he has been managing to protect his tower somewhat in the mid lane. That's a lot of damage. That's PYL down to half, okay. LGD are actually making tracks towards the bottom lane. They've got the blast cone usage as well. They're going to find a path down here.
And the key thing is that there's no Gangplank ultimate to help out EDG in this dive.
Oh, cutting off the minion wave as well. Great binding immediately right into the bullet time. iBoy, there's no point in flashing because you're dead, and Soraka's going to follow. I'll see you in hell. That's going to be 2 kills to LGD.
Excellently done. Amy teams up with Yuki again. Either grab the Rise, grab the Yasuo, get one of those two, and start being that carnivore and eating up space on this map. Huge swing of power for LGD, because now it unlocks their shot caller and captain in PYL.
Great play coming in from LGD on top of that. I mean, that's what you expect from EDG. The classic EDG rotation into the bottom side. LGD make them taste their own medicine. It's going to be 600 gold in the backpack of Y4. This is the first time I've seen a Misfortune so far this split actually get ahead in the early game.
It was also really well timed because Scout and Clearlove were on top side of the map, passing over the blue buff. We talked about how Clearlove's only responsibility in this game is to make sure he doesn't lose control of the neutral vision. The entire bottom side of the map was dark. LG were able to know that EDG were on top side of the map with their jungler, and then walk through a very dark Silk Road behind the Dragon Pit and destroy EDG's bot side.
Y4 is using my favorite Gun Goddess Misfortune form. It's the one where you shoot like lots of missiles. It's like Royal Guard or something like that. Pretty cool. For some reason, they're all using the exact same one. I don't know if they were just using the base one and Y4 just realized that he can change forms because there's like 4 different forms. 10 out of 10. Would watch again. PY out. He's heading onto the top lane. Now, he's pushing him towards the side because he's got a shackles ready to go. He's going to wait until he's locked in place. Oh, Ray! He was expecting it to be oranges. It wasn't an orange. It was yellow.
Baited and outsmarted. Excellently done from Ray there. Didn't press tab, didn't check the perfect timing. Like you were saying, expected the oranges. So he was just going to chain the Dark Binding into the immediate CC so he could catch the flash. But mind games.
Baited and outsmarted. Got him. Yeah. Burns the stopwatch, but I mean Burns PYL's ultimate and roam coming out from him as well. So Junior was going to be down there in the bottom lane swapping up, and of course Y4 will do the same on top side. Yuki going to be aggressing onto Scout. It's going to be a pillar knocking away though. Oh, we're going to fall into the last breath though. Scout flashed away. That's a real flash. And Amy takes a bunch of damage on the latter half of that fight. Great binding actually out from PYL. Locks Clearlove in place. So no impale for him.
Yep, excellent disengage there, and I still like the fact that Amy is being very aggressive and very proactive on the map. Because they have complete control of the bottom lane, I expect that LGD will rotate into that Mountain Dragon, but they do need to be aware that EDG have gotten every single Rift Herald this series, and they can't continue to let this one go for free because of how it allows them to pivot around the mid lane. And once you unlock Zoe, and she starts having access to throwing all of her skill shots around choke points, that's when things get really terrifying and EDG's composition starts coming online for these sieges.
Yeah, definitely. But they had to get there first, and currently that road looks very rocky. LGD are starting off on the Dragon. We'll see if EDG can take anything on the opposite side because it's a Misfortune and a Morgana blocking the wave, and a Misfortune with a bullet time to boot, which means that they will be able to instantly clear the wave if they make an aggression towards it, so no Herald so far. Ping goes down immediately as the Dragon dies from LGD. If Clearlove can take it immediately, then that's great. But LGD, there is a chance for them to react here if they want to.
What's cool is that the next Dragon will be at 18 minutes for that Infernal, and both teams will have really key itemization coming out, so both teams should feel really confident to fight over it, and I feel like that 18-minute team fight over the Infernal Drake, if both teams contest, is going to be the true hinge on which this game swings.
EYL, he's approaching Y4 there as well. He sees Clearlove is going to be smoted down, but Yuki is going to block him. And Clearlove says, come with me, we're going to go on a trip. Scout follows up with the panel star, but in comes again the combo. And with the bullet time over the wall, Scout is locked in place. He's gone golden and he's about to go dead. He jumps forward, tries to get a return to kill onto Yuki. It's finished up by Mako right there, but now he's under attack. Clearlove following up. He gets a nice bit of slowdown onto the team. Will be able to survive and also help his support out, but it's a kill. And also blocking the Herald to EDG.
I cannot believe that Mako actually got out alive. What feels like flashing into the middle of so many enemies on a champion like Soraka. Manages to clean up all of the work that Scout did. EDG don't get the Rift Herald, but they do deny it from LGD. And manage to control and protect their tower. Observer showcasing us that the Herald has disappeared. No one picked it up.
Shelly's eye locked on the floor. Clearlove, nice setup here. Scout lands a lot of damage over the wall, but the heal was clutch. And then the follow through as well. This combo has been so good coming out of Amy and Yuki.
What's interesting is if you look at the minimap, Edward Gaming had the proper setup. You know, they've got 2 wards that are behind the Herald Pit. They had control over top lane pushing, Scout in the mid lane. But just no one collapsed in time to protect Clearlove and to secure that Rift Herald. So again, a fumbled setup and preparation of EDG, which is something that this team was really well known for. They are the play-making team. They are the setup team. They make plays, you know, 3, 4, 5 minutes in advance and execute on them flawlessly. And now they don't seem to have that ability anymore.
Not quite. For any of our live viewers, JD and OMG is ongoing right now over in Chengdu, starting right on time at 7 China time. So if you want to catch the start of that game, it's starting and is continuing their early game currently. You can go over to W and Panda to catch that one. Alternatively, you can stay with us and we'll be starting that one from the very start for you. We've got that one ready to click play on, so up to you. But we'll have English commentary for that one right after the conclusion of EDG and LGD.
I mean, I could probably dual commentate the game. I can see the Mandarin casters just behind us.
Oh, steady.
Let me tell you that JD Gaming are already up 2-0.
Oh, thanks for the spoiler for us. Jeez.
No, you're welcome.
Ah, goodness gracious.
I'll let you know when a team fight happens.
Okay. Okay. We'll see if we can dual play-by-play. That's a new one.
I'll take left, you take right.
All right. I'll go high, you go low. LGD The siege in the mid lane tower. I appreciate the attempt at the cannon barrage there from Ray, but it's just going to tickle LGD as they go away. Oh, Alawi's about to grab Ray. Oh, no, he's fine. And Jinu is going to get himself a crab. Oh, what a juke. Crab locked in place. Can he find the second? Oh, no. Double CC duration on the crab, unfortunately. Key weakness.
At this point in the game, Edward Gaming are just trying to stack up as much gold as possible in preparation for this Infernal. We're about to tick over into the 2-minute warning mark for both these teams. And as I said previously, you're going to have a couple of key itemizations coming out for both key champions on either team. Misfortune should have completed 2 items, or she's going to be very close, and that's really the big window for LGD. They want to make sure that they have access to Ghostblade as well as Duskbringer, the red one.
Duskbringer is Nocturne's Q. Duskblade of Drakthar is the red one.
Thank you.
And Duskbraid is something that you put in your hair at night.
I wouldn't know. I have really short hair.
Once upon a time you had long hair.
And on EDG side, I have long pink hair.
Oh.
The Trinity Force from Gangplank is the big window.
And it was nothing there at all. He'll never know unless he watches the pod. Clearly on his way to the bottom lane. Making sure it's completely clear. He says, on the way, Ray. Face down the on the way ping. On the Chinese server, that means they're already there. Remember that one if you play on Ionia.
He's going for the reach round. It's because he knows that Amy and Yuki were in the mid lane.
Jinu, he knows. He wasn't even caught out on that ward. He just has this sixth sense right now. I feel like there's a Skarner here. But it just, either way, it allows Ray to hit the tower and take it down.
And it's important that Edward Gaming gain access to this area on the map. Hold on.
Front row. He's about to go night-night. Cleanses out of it. He's alright. But EDG, 3 members here, looking to take out this wave, maybe push it towards the tower. What are LGD doing? Well, they've got 3 members centered around top lane.
They're starting to fall apart at the seams, although teams need to start making their backs for Infernal.
It's like, damn it, I knew he was there! Clear in the bottom lane. Inhales and impales onto Jinu. He's going to flash away. He's got the shield, turns it around. Ray's holding out the door as long as he can. The wish comes down from Soraka. They both stay alive. Bullet time coming through onto Scout. He dodges, but he has to come back. He gets the kill.
1-for-1 trade, support from mid, however, and a huge miss from Edward Gaming on the bottom side of the map. Just terribly executed. I mean, good job on Jinu, but oh my god.
Yeah, what a disaster. Top lane and bot lane. It's a disaster sandwich. Oh, he's going to flash forwards. Jinu low, he's ticking down from the pass, but he's got the shield, turns around. Ray, last tower shot. Oh no, you played yourself.
From bad to worse, and the Infernal Drake is now spawned. That's now more gold over to LGD. They got the push and the reverse back on all of the waves against Edward Gaming, which means they have first access into this pit. I don't know if Edward Gaming take this fight more.
I feel like Jinu needs to have the Yasuo mode, to be honest. Bring it on. 2-man gang, absolutely fine. 1v1, that's fine too.
Flashes forward, can't deal with the shield.
Seraphs. I understood what Ray was looking for, because he was like, the shield's down, he can't do it again. He's already used the combo. Didn't press tab and see what item he had.
That's the 2-item power spike on Misfortune. That's also decent items on Yasuo. I feel like LGD very confident to do this, and like I said, because Edward Gaming pretty much fundamentally failed in both the top and bottom lane, they have to give away the Infernal. This was supposed to be the hinge on what this game would be decided on.
Well, they are unhinged, is what I could say. LGD picked themselves up the dragon. Next one's going to be Infernal. If they control this game from here on out, they'll get themselves a second Inferno off the back of that one. And LGD, they are firmly ahead in this game.
Looking to take their revenge against Edward Gaming.
It's been a long time coming for us.
Getting more and more likely that LGD could take down EDG in a best-of-3.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very sweet for them. And again, LGD, we're talking about it even within the English caster team. There's a good chance that they could possibly make playoff this split. Maybe make a run for themselves. What a change from the last couple splits of LGD. Mean a lot for them, the organization, and the players. Especially these new ones coming in, you know. Y4, the fact that it seems to be based around the solo laners. Zoe pops over, says hello. How are you going? EDG know that the flank was on the horizon, so they'll back away. There was also a massive minion wave in top lane that was being escorted in by Yuki.
And I feel like at this point, LGD need to continue to separate Jinnu and Yuki, continue to play them out to the side lanes, funnel more farm, especially because you can very comfortably park PYL and Y4 and have a lot of safety because you have Black Shield in that mid lane, as well as with the bullet time. They can continuously deny this attempted siege from LGD.
Yeah, he's also going to be some really big bullet times coming through. This one's going to clear out the minion wave here for Y4, but remember, he's 2.5 items. He's also picked up the QSS, so he is in such a good position for himself to be laying down these huge bullet times come team fights.
And EDG just do not know how to attack this map. They're constantly trying to just ARAM funnel themselves into the mid lane, but while they're doing so, they're losing flashes on their ADC, huge no-no at a very crucial time when we could have a team fight into a Baron, but they're not paying attention to their side lanes. And so they have to leave mid, they have to go out to their side lanes, and it just allows LGD to let a wave build up behind them and they just run it down mid themselves.
I don't know, Frost. I mean, like, I'm looking at this game, and it actually reminds me of actually last time you and I casted LGD, you know, before they had their winning streak, and they were the ones ARAMing in the mid lane. And they just didn't know what to do. They were just sat in mid lane and they couldn't close. So when we had that fiesta of a game that went on for 50 minutes, we had like 100 million kills. But this time, LGD, this is a complete 180. They play completely different. That being said, Jinnu just lost all of his help in bot lane. He's going to turn it around very slightly because he's got Y4 jumping over the wall as well, and his misfortune. The double taps are coming in. It's going to be close, and Ray's going to be trading his life for this one. Oh, he's got the wish coming down. Oh, the crit coming out there. Didn't even have Storm Raiders.
Could still see some fighting going down. I feel like LGD should just push this wave in and recall, however. It's not worth it, guys.
Yeah, we're just getting a little hot under the collar there. So it's going to be top lane's exchange for us.
But EDG are forced into this position because, again, the nature of their composition. They keep doing this where they draft these siege comps, and it used to be one of the bread and butter maneuvers of EDG, but they're not as practiced with it. They're not as refined, and it's not working as well in this type of meta.
Alright. Oh, caught on the very end. I feel bad for Jinnu. There's no way that should have connected. But that'll be the follow-up damage from the sleep damage plus the paddle star. It survives a long time with the shield, though. Got him. Yeah, Ray with the turnaround right there. The wish was also clutch. Gave a chance for him to knock down Y4. Not going to be the case in the end. Simply didn't have any more follow-up off of that crit. But still, appreciate the effort. The old college try there from Brave.
We're now in the Baron dance as more key items are being complete. Still a very hefty lead, however, from Y4 and Misfortune. 3-0 and 3. Poor little iBoy is still sitting on just a bunch of components as well as his Ghostblade. So Edward Gaming need to continue to stall this game out before they can feel really comfortable engaging in a full 5v5 versus just looking for kind of hit-and-run picks.
Yep. Finding lands onto Clearlove. Really difficult to walk into this narrow alley into LGD, especially when the flash comes forward right into the last breath, gives him an extra arm penetration. And good lord, is Clearlove dead. Yuki's still going. The rest of the team is blocked up right now by Ray. Mako, he's going to die. And Yuki's just popping off by himself. He finds two. How do you do? Ray's going to flash the wall, and LGD come up trumps.
And you said that it was, you know, a bad idea. That was a terrible idea. Why would you ever walk into a small choke point against a Trundle Misfortune? You place down the pillar, you have so much coverage over the bullet time, they're going to be forced to eat it, and your ADC doesn't have flash. It was burned at the previous engagement. So you lose your jungler, you lose your bot lane, you lose the Baron, and they're possibly going to lose the series. This is full control LGD on a composition that only gets stronger.
On a silver platter. Clearlove just walks up. Enemy cooking some Scorpion tonight, that's for certain.
And they have to check. They want to come up, but you don't need to all check through that maneuver. Walk into the mid lane, push it up, walk through a larger space and area so you can spread out. There's no reason to take that pathway into the jungle.
I mean, when a Yasuo flashes into 3 of your squishies, it's like a ball in a china shop, you know? It's like, what are you going to do? Scout immediately evacuates, because it's like, well, lads, I don't have my bubble, so I'll see you later. And then iBoy and Meka just running around in circles like, what do we do? We're just dead. There's nothing we can do. We've already burnt all of our CC abilities. And Yuki just ran away with it. 2-1 and 3. First 2 kills of the game actually happening right there. But as you said, they had to check. Unfortunately, there was a gang of LGD members there to meet them.
Now, the question is, how do LGD actually siege with this Baron? And it's going to continue to split up the map. They have a Misfortune, so they can try to attempt to zone or threaten with the bullet time. But otherwise, you're looking at kind of spell flinging. Dark Bindings, maybe a Tornado coming here and there. LGD shouldn't execute on any of them unless they feel very confident about the health advantage.
Or we can find
happen.
the pick in the top lane. Yeah, that's going to be on Amy, but he's very tanky. Is there enough time to rotate? No, but that was all 5 members on top side, and Y4 breaks open the base.
And yet it's Mako that walks away with the kill. Disappointing. Jinnu also left to his own devices on the bottom side.
Yeah, he'll drop the tower down to half, so he's having a grand old time. Ray's going to try and step up here, but that tower is dead. Yuki is on the top side, 1 versus 1 into Scout. He's going to find this tower over time as well with the cannon minion sieging the way. Now the rotation comes into bot side with Y4 and PYL. And I don't know if that kill was worth it, to be honest, EDG.
I'm going to tell you that it wasn't worth it. And EDG are frankly on fire, not just in this game, but in this league. This team has completely fallen apart. They no longer showcase the strengths that once made them a top-tier team. They've lost their ability to team fight with the best of them. They've lost their ability to read the map and have those crisp, clean macro calls. And it's time and time again, especially around the Baron area, that they are just having bad reads and throwing away games.
Yeah, they're on fire, but in the worst
Look
possible way.
He knows. He can taste it. LGD have so much momentum and so much hype behind them right now. The fact that you can see this bleeding, kneeling king, and you're just like, go for the kill shot.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a point-blank execution at this point, Frost. LGD are just in such a good position. 4-0-5. This is what you want to see from the Misfortune pick. I mean, this will be the 2nd win in total that Misfortune has had in summer. All the other Misfortune have just gone behind early game, but when she's ahead, boy does she hurt. Now sat on 3.5 items. And those bullet times, you saw the damage it dealt from Clear basically exclusively off that bullet time. But if that hits multiple members, they are dead.
And there's nothing to lose right now. It's a huge reward, very minimal risk for LGD if they want to attempt to dive and just force an end here, because there's nothing EDG could get back on the map if they do manage to win here. I think LGD go for the win.
Tower broken, there comes a bullet time zoning away. Mako actually stands in that one for a second. Oh, Yuki instant cleanse out of the Impale and Clear. What's Ascana to do in this situation? Yuki about to die, it's raining down hell on top of him, he finally falls.
They did it.
Here comes Jinnu, he's tagged Ray, PYL, about to be picked up though, he goes golden, he goes dead. Jinnu stepping up to the plate, Amy and Y4 still here though, the 3-man assault into 4, they are still pushing forward, and the love taps do so much damage into these towers. Y4 collects 1, it might be LGD just backing away. 2 members died off of that push, but they have wiped out every single inhibitor.
I cannot believe that Edward Gaming even survived that siege right there. By the skin of their teeth, they are still in this game, but LGD, look at that gold lead. 10k, 2 Infernals, a Mountain Drake. They have every single attack point that they want on this map.
It is a lot. My boy and Mako struggling against these minions right here. Almost double Nexus turrets down. And this is another wave. Come back. Clearly's going to be the one to stop it. And it's still killing the tower.
You look at EDG's composition. What are their options here? You know, if they're backed into a corner, they don't have the ability to just straight up 5v5. I mean, they maybe stall out towards Gangplank and hope that LG stack on a 5-man barrel and just watch them explode.
An early bullet time, but it forces a flash and drops Mako below half. Really, it was 2 members pushing in very deep. It's a godsend that Yuki got hit by that bubble at all.
And that really was the difference there. If Yasuo had survived and was able to chase down, if LGD had just been a little bit cleaner, crisper, not diving the Nexus towers, that would have been the game there. But we talked about high risk, low reward. It's even better now.
Oh, LGD a hyphy, and that's going to find themselves a kill onto iBoy. The clutch pick right there by Yuki, but really, it was just a matter of time. This time they can do it in style. Here comes the bullet time, rains down across all of EDG. That's going to be a double kill to Trundle, another kill as well to Y4, and LGD reclaim their former glory, and they'll get a win over EDG today.
Well-deserved high fives, huge smiles on the likes of Amy's face. He turns to Jinnu and he says, we did it. And Amy particularly, the fact that he had the Trundle pick, that he got the early 2 kills, that was the difference maker. You said that it was PYL for you. For me, it was Amy. He was the last piece of the puzzle because you already had such strong franchise players to stand behind in Yuki in the mid lane and Jinnu in the top lane. You just needed that jungler to hold it together for them to cover their laners.
LGD don't even know where to stand. You can bow, it's fine. Hongzo goes nuts. And the loyal LGD fans, they've been through thick and thin. A lot of thin recently, but LGD have been on the upswing in the last couple games, last couple series, and the cherry on top was an EDG win to boot.
and not even Clear Love could dig them out of this hole. EDG look broken on that side of the stage. Boy not making any sort of eye contact. Whereas LGD still tasting some of their newfound victory.
And frankly, I don't know what else EDG need. I mean, it feels like Clearlove brought the shovel today, but everyone's arms are broken.
They have a bad read of the meta.
Yeah.
That's what it is. They're playing very bizarre compositions when it feels like this is much more about skirmishing and team fighting. You know, they didn't really take to the whole bruiser meta when it was running rampant in 8.13. Yes, things have changed to 8.14. Yes, Zoe is a very strong champion, but it's kind of everything else that is going around the Zoe. And then the own team decision making in their macro calls. They are just not crisp, they are not clean.
And it's not conscious either, really, from EDG. You know, you look towards a team like RNG and they've started to drop games in cross-conference, but that's because Uzi wasn't there. Yes, he's come back now, but, you know, it was a lot of different iterations of RNG going into the tank and thinking, basically, how can they swap up the roster and make it work, you know, with all these different iterations, with all these different players. EDG coming in with, you know, close to their main roster, bringing out Clearlove into the jungle as well, and still face planting, you know, on stage. I mean, they got that second game as a gimme. That was really just that binding at the start of the game and the snowball, and then Ray coming up clutch in team fights. But again, they were still getting caught in that second game. And then in the third game, I mean, history repeats itself in game 1.
And then it's a reminder about why would they look for Clearlove. It's not because Haro has been underperforming or anything like that. He's been the most consistent performer. It's because they're having shot calling issues. And again, I want to put a magnifying glass. When you go back, when you watch the VODs, watch what Edward Gaming are doing when they're deciding how they're moving around objectives, what their vision setup is. And that can't just be on Mako. Yes, he's the support captain and shot caller, but even Poling and Clearlove, they're unable to get it together. So this is the breaking point. It's in the brain of EDG and not necessarily in the brawn. They're still talented players, but they've just lost their minds.
And that was such a terrible time for that to happen. You know, we're week 7. We're ramping up until to World. You know, this is the World split.
Back into domestic conference.
Yeah, and it just, yeah, exactly. You're going into a domestic conference, and the fact that, you know, yes, they have points coming in from spring, and yes, maybe they still get a World seed, but I mean, this is still like the split that goes into Worlds itself. Like I don't know how many times I need to keep saying it. Like, EDG needs to get it together right now, because this will not hold up against some of the best teams in the world.
That said, we talked about Clutch, we talked about how long the LPL season is. EDG have never been a team that can rotate quickly into new metas. And I think this is what they're being punished by again. But they need to look at their system and figure out what's going wrong. Because there's no reason that between 3 different coaches and completely different rosters that they are continuing to have the exact same growing pains 4 years in a row. Yeah,
bring it back at the fundamentals. On the opposite side, congratulations to LGD on a very sick win for themselves. And Y4 will be our MVP on this Misfortune play, landing some sick ultimates for 0 and 8 on this champion.
And I like the confidence of Y4 to take the Misfortune pick in game number 2, pretty much get smacked around, and then have the confidence to run it back in game number 3. Came up huge. Huge assist by Amy as well, giving that early gank, but 4-0 and 8, like you're saying, massive bullet times, right place, right time, right mentality.
Yeah, really. And Y4, I'm glad that he's getting some time in the limelight, because I really have been thinking that Y4 has been strong for a while now.
Yeah,
even,
very solid.
You know, before coming on to LGD, but now he's really taken center on the show. I just want to see more Y4, you know, the innovation and the play itself in-game. For now, guys, we are going to take a short break, but when we get back, we'll be heading into our final series of the day with OMG and JD Gaming.
相信这支年轻气盛的京东，相信过程。